Okay, so I have shoulder pain in on my right side on my front delt and my side delt,
Right.
and I feel it on my side delt on my left side. What are some things that I can do to like fix it and not have pain? Because even now, like when I'm doing like any workouts or movements, like even on like non-pushing days, so like chest, when I'm doing my warm-up sets, it bothers me, and even my back days, I'm doing like a lat pull down, like it bothers me. So like, what are some things I can do to
So
stop
you're
that?
doing overhead lat pull
Yeah,
down.
like when I, because you know when you go for like the full extension and you like
Okay,
thing, then
so basically, even so, that's the rotation that's bothering you. Because if you're doing like bent over rows, does that seem to bother you, or what? Is there a difference?
so when I do
Like
my
if
bent
you're doing
over,
bent overs.
I actually stopped doing bent over rows solely because it just wasn't working for me.
Mm.
Like I would go heavy with it, I'd go light with it, and then I'd go like in between weights, and I just wouldn't feel anything in my back, and it's a more dominant back movement. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
I stopped that like completely, but I wouldn't really feel it in my shoulder. Honestly, I only feel it. These are the most times I feel in my shoulder when I'm doing my warm up sets for bench, and then when I get to my working sets, I'm fine. And then when I do my chest flies, um, when I get like into my later like number of sets, that's when I feel it. So when I get to like that like 8, 9, I feel it here and it goes through my like tricep, through my forearm into my hand.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then I'm like, okay, like I'm stopping because like it's
Because
uncomfortable. I can't
that's
even do it.
when you're especially when you're opening up, right? You're it's all the physics. Like your load. So you, like 5 pounds out here is going to put way more torque on your shoulder than 40 pounds inside, right? Because of the leverage or off leverage. So that's and you know the flies are meant to stretch the muscle. So when you're there, you're at a disadvantage. Sure, it's going to hurt the shoulders. So whenever I come across an injury, the first thing you got to do is like you said, you got to identify what stuff bothers you. So and then try and stay away from that. Or sometimes it's the range of motion. So if you can get to here, you say, oh, that's fine. Here, fine. Here it starts to hurt over here. So then just to not lose it altogether, just go through the range of motion that doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Because what you'll find too is if you keep that strong, then you're still getting money, blood and stuff to the area, and so it'll help rehabilitate, right? So find ranges of motion that don't bother you, but also try and find exercises that don't bother you.
Gotcha.
A lot of times I said I think you can find a range of motion where you can get to a certain point, just like you said with the flies. Once you start getting into the heavier stuff, that's when it starts bothering you. So stay away from that for a while. Just stay away. So maybe add a few more sets with the lighter weight. So when you're saying it's bothering you at the higher reps, or as you get progressive into the
I would say like at the higher reps. So typically when I do my flies, I try to go like heavier on that. So when I train my chest, I have like my heavy day and then my like not so heavy day. I guess
yeah,
like more
yeah,
my
yeah,
rep range day because
okay,
trying to get like my bench up.
right.
So typically what I do is I do my warm up set. So I'll start like the bar, a plate, then go 225, and I'm trying to hit that 270. So then now I just try to rep out 250, and then kind of just like keep like doing like dropping the weight to like lower and lower and lower just to get like the heavy like strong sets. So I'll do like 250 of three, then I'll do maybe like 235, try to get like 6 or 7, and then drop to 225, another 6 or 7, and then 205, get like 8 to 10, and then like that's at my flat bench. And then after that, I go into the flies, and I do probably start at like 130 on flies, jump to like 200, and then depending
On
how
flies.
on like the machine
Oh,
chest
on the
flies,
machines.
not
Okay,
like
okay.
dumbbells. I can't do that, but
Right.
on the machine flies, I start at like 130. Then I go to like 200, 220, and then depending on how I'm
Do,
feeling,
do,
I
do
go
dumbbell
higher.
flies bother you?
Sometimes, yeah, but I some yes and no. Like I usually like I when I do my dumbbell flies, like I keep it like light and I just really go for the contraction. But
Which is fine.
yeah, but I find I get a better contraction when I do the machine ones. So that's why I stick to that one more.
So
But
yeah, that's because the machines tend to keep like a more constant tension on there. But if your shoulders hurt, you might want to go back to trying dumbbell flies, just because you can fool around with your range of motion a little bit more. I said if you want to try and find something right now that's not gonna bother or irritate those muscles. So doing free weights gives you a little more flexibility as to where you position your arm. Try dumbbell flies for a while, just so you can find that range of motion and that an angle that's not going to bother you. Because same thing, I've got this one shoulder gets better, goes back in. It's been so many years that it's never going to go away. So when I do flies, I even as I set up, I got to find that particular angle that's not going to irritate it, and then I can go forever. But if I hit the wrong angle, it'll bother it. So I said, it gives you a little bit more to flexibility to work with. And then like I said, and then when everything's feeling better, you can get back to your regular stuff. But right now, you can't afford to screw it up even more.
yeah,
Right. So you don't want to keep irritating it.
Yeah. So like, what are some things that I can do, like maybe like before I go into like chest, and maybe make it feel better? Like, is there any specific workouts I should do?
So a good warm up, even your physio is saying so. A good warm up for sure. And the other thing is like in between the days. So if you got like the rubber bands and stuff, try and get like 15 minutes of those chest type exercises, because that's it's gonna bring muscle to the area. It's gonna activate it, and it'll help recover. It's not a workout, so you're not doing it to get a workout, but doing the therapy in between your training makes a big difference, right? And then even icing down your shoulders after you do it, all that stuff. It sounds simple, and it is. It sounds like it's not gonna do anything, but it does. Yeah, icing, and then in between your days, and try and do the therapy stuff. Push-ups bother you? Have you tried them in a while?
Not really. Like, I don't really do push-ups, to be honest. I kind of just do like my warm-up now for my shoulders, just some like shoulder mobility things. So like I'll get like a band and we do some like crawl up the wall, and get like an elastic and just kind of like get some rotations in, really try to like stretch it out as much as I can. And then like I'll get like dumbbells and I'll just like do some of these, do like this, and then like a pressing motion, just lightweight, like 5 to 10
that's good.
pounds.
But like you said, right now you gotta change a little bit to therapy mode, right? So like I said, those days, if you're either doing rubber bands or again, see if push-ups bother you, try and find a hand position that doesn't irritate it, and just try a few of those. Again, even range of motion. If going all the way down bothers you, but going 3/4 of the way down doesn't, again, you got to sort of think in therapy mode right now. That would be the best way to do it. You want to constantly keep getting blood flow to that area, but you don't want to fatigue it. So that's why you're not doing a workout. You're not trying to get tired, but you're just trying to
get some blood flow.
Blood flow, because ultimately that's what cures you. So even when you go to therapy and they have the modalities and they're applying heat and all that stuff is basically, it's trying to speed up that process of the blood flowing and taking out dead tissue, hurt tissue, and replenishing it. Ultimately, that's what recovers the body.
Gotcha.
Right.
So when you said to have like a day where you just kind of focus on the shoulder to like do like the therapy side of it.
So if say your day 1 is your chest, heavy chest workout, and your day 3 is your heavy chest workout, how many days in between would that? Because you do what, like a 4-day program? What's your program?
So I just recently changed my my program. So I do chest and buys, back and tries, legs, abs, and shoulders, and then a rest day. And then like back to like day 1.
Okay, so legs and tries, back and shoulders, legs. So you got some good rest in between. So I would say even on by the time even either on back and shoulders.
No, back and tries.
So back and tries.
Shoulders and legs.
Shoulders and legs. Sorry. So day one is
Chest and bi,
chest.
back and try, and then shoulders, legs, rest.
So maybe on the shoulder, on the leg day, and doesn't have to be in that workout, in the morning, in the afternoon, even the other. Again, that's when you do the light stuff. Even the next day after bench press. Again, this is just to get blood flowing, lactic acid out of your system. So that's when you would do the TheraBands or a few push-ups, just things that are gonna promote building back the muscle in that area and repairing it. Right. And again, you're not looking to over fatigue it either, because it needs time to repair.
Yeah. Would you say posture has anything to do with like the shoulder pain at all, or would you say? 'Cause I know it's me. I feel like I'm very slouched sometimes. Like my posture isn't like the greatest. So
I wouldn't even say so much. You know what? It's not even so much postures as it is. Let's say you're studying or something, and you're leaning on something. So now you're really leaning into, as opposed to just being relaxed and doing your posture. But like right now, what I mean, you're leaning on something. If you're sitting upright, that's just balance. But if you're leaning into it, then you're stressing your shoulder and your traps a lot more than you think. So maybe little things like that, trying not to lean heavy into the shoulder when you're doing nothing. Even when you sleep, I mean, if you're maybe, I don't know if you're aware when you sleep, like if there's a position where you keep your arms that irritates. I know with me it does, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm on my stomach, I can, if I lean to one side, I'm fine, but if I lean to the other, it bothers my shoulders. So little things like that, like try and stay away from those positions when you sleep, because especially when you don't notice you're asleep, and you could be on that irritating angle for an hour, right? But then when you wake up, it's like, oh my God, why is my shoulder so sore? Because you've been in a fixed position for a long time. You don't notice when you're sleeping, so you have to be a little more aware. So even stuff like that.
Gotcha. So now for like shoulder days. So now like I'm doing like legs and shoulders. There's some workouts that I should be focusing more on than others, because I know like people do like full on shoulder days. So it's like tough because they have they work out the front head, the rear delt, the side delt,
right.
Your traps. So like, should I be focusing on working out like all those heads, or should I keep it more minimal and just kind of stick to two things because I don't really need to do the other things?
So again, if we got to take this at this point in time that your shoulders are bothering you. You don't want to overdo it. So I would, sort of minimum that you can get away with. And when I say minimum, that you can get a workout in, but you're not going for 5 or 6 sets that it's going to just irritate your shoulder too much. So you're going to try and get away with minimum amount right now. So you might not see great progress, but you're not going to fall behind either. Yeah. So you got to take care, because the shoulders, it's the most flexible joint in the body. So you can screw that up pretty bad, and it's hard to get it back after.
Because before, what I would do when I would do my shoulder days, I would have 2 workouts for the front delt, 2 workouts for the traps, 2 for the side delt, and then 2 for the rear delt. Now I'm hitting all the heads, but like in the beginning, I felt it was fine, but then later, like I found it to be starting to bother me. So do you think that's like too much strain on the shoulders?
That is, because you got to remember, even though you're focusing on different heads, it is the same. It's the shoulder cap. So now you got a relatively smaller muscles. I know there's a whole bunch of them, but it's not that big a muscle. And now you've done 2 exercises, so that's 6 exercises. And how many sets per exercise? 3?
3 to 4 for each one, to be honest. Some of them I go heavier.
So there you go. So now you're 18.
Yeah.
18 sets just on the shoulder. That's for me, that's excessive, because you got to remember you're benching. That's front delts right there. So else, even when you're doing stuff like bent over rows, right? If when you're doing back, you're still kicking in the rear delts. So I think people tend to overdo it because they hear that there's 3 heads, on the deltoids, and so they just overdo it. But you're getting so much shoulder work in with all those other exercises, right? I'm not saying don't do them, but especially front delt, because especially when you start overhead pressing and all that stuff, you're benching. If you're doing dips for the chest, the front delt is always involved in that.
Yeah.
Right. So I would, one exercise for the front delt, one for the side, one for the back, because you're going to be hitting those heads regardless in other exercises, and hitting them directly. Like I said, when you're doing bent over rolls or bent over flies for your back, even pull downs, right? To an extent, they're going to hit the rear delt. So you don't, it's a small. You don't really need to do all that focus on it.
Yeah.
And if your shoulders are hurting, that could be part of the problem right there. Is that you just got too much going on for the shoulder joint.
Yeah. Okay. So if you had to focus, so instead of doing all of those, if you had to pick parts of the shoulder to focus on more than others, which ones would you pick?
So I would, if for a shoulder workout, I would say the side lats and the rear, because with the front sorry, I said lats, the side deltoids and the rear deltoids, because the front deltoids, you're hitting a lot with the bench press, and you're probably doing a lot of different bench exercises. For me, honestly, almost even, you could even skip a direct front delt. But that being said, focus on side and rear more, just because that movement is you're not going to do it in that many other exercises,
Yeah.
right? The back one you will with your back movements. So side and rear I'd focus on more, and but again, one exercise per, because you're hitting those heads in other exercises anyways. But if you just want to focus on the shoulder joint itself, one exercise, 3 to 5 sets, hit it hard, and done.
Gotcha. Okay. So now another thing for shoulders, would you say what would you say is better for me in my situation with my shoulders to hit for the chest? Would you say to do more barbell movements or dumbbell movements? What would be more safer for me so I don't get hurt even more?
You know what? You got to find a comfort zone. You see, if I say barbell, the tendency is you can load the barbell more, and the load itself might bother your shoulder, even though it's more stable, right? Because you're fixed. You're not, with a dumbbell, you're trying harder to balance it and all that stuff. Okay, so the barbell is more fixed. In that sense, it's safer, but the tendency is you're going to load it more. So now the load might bother you. So you got to find that comfort zone for a little while where you can do an exercise, and it's not going to bother you. So probably load is going to bother you more than volume, right? Number of sets. Even, I would even take it to a point where I'd try and fill it up with a little more sets and even fewer reps, because you're going back and up and down. It's gonna irritate the joint. But if you rest in between a little longer, it gives it time to sort of cool off. So as opposed to let's say 4 sets of 20, just to give you an example, I break it down and I do 8 sets of 10. Right, so you have that rest. Your shoulders not grinding as much, and you have that rest in between. Right, so your total volume is the same, but you've broken it up so that you got more rest in between, and it's not bothering your shoulders. But again, would I do 8 sets if my shoulder is bothering me? No.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily the movement; it's necessarily the weight and your rep range and all of that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of everything. You just gotta find. So again, good warm up. Stay away from angles and depths that are gonna irritate it. Again, you're gonna have to work around the problem a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. Like I said, and I go through this. I see almost monthly. It's always you're gonna lift weights, especially if you're lifting heavier weights. You're gonna strain this, pull that, and you got to work way around it, and you can, right? Like you said, first you identify what the problem is, and then you start finding things that fit in, that work, right? And then you go with that, and then again, it's just gonna give your body a chance to heal.
Yeah. So let's say okay, so I'm about to hit a set of bench, right? And I need to warm up my shoulders because of the pain I have.
Right.
Would you say to do a more mobility warm up or a static warm up as to going to bench would be better, or both? What would you say is the best way to be warm for that set of bench?
Right. So again, going back to what I said, you have to identify your range of motion. So when you're saying do mobility, that's fine, but you got to find at what point is so you're okay here, this is starting to hurt, so you got to stay away from that. So you can do mobility exercises, but you can't go to that full range. So you got to identify what bothers you at that point. So even now, in terms of a therapeutic exercise, static movement's good. So let's say you're okay here, and then just about here is where you start there. So that's where you can do your static, and you do static movements because you're not moving the joint. It shouldn't irritate it. So you do a static movement, and in that way you strengthen that point, right? But I would use that as its own exercise, not necessarily as the warm up.
Okay.
Okay, so you want to do those things as its own exercise.
Gotcha. I also found when I'm hitting my squats, I always do my squats on a Smith machine. I just feel safer on the Smith, and I feel
that's fine.
I like to make it a little more quad dominant for my squats. But as I'm holding the bar, sometimes I have to use one hand to hold the bar because my left shoulder just gives out. Why is that happening? Why is that a thing? If I'm at squatting.
Why is that thing? Because you gotta remember the bar's behind you, okay, and you got your shoulder joint opened up, so there's a lot of torque on the shoulder here to try and balance it. The Smith machine should take away some of that as opposed to a regular squat, but you still have a lot of torque. So now, but you might want to try maybe moving your hands out a bit, so you're not torqued like this, because basically the closer you are, the closer your hand grip, you're sort of squeezing like this. So you might find some shoulder relief if you keep your hands out a bit more. Okay. Also, when you're squatting, you want to make sure that you are hitting your leg and you're not trying to, because that's a tendency too, because you're especially when you get tired, you just want your body wants that weight up, right? So you tend to even torque your arms. So you got to be conscious that you're not trying to torque your shoulders to get yourself up, and it's coming from the legs. So a little bit of conscious effort to not torque the arms. So again, you want to make sure that when you're holding the bar, you're not like this. You're a little more elbows up, right? As opposed to torquing it this way. Because I had problems with that too, and I had to adjust it how I squat, because I was same thing. I'm there. I'm squatting, but why are my shoulders hurt? So I thought it was my bench press. At the end of the day, it wasn't my bench press. It was the squatting, because I was torquing. I was doing this as opposed to
and you're putting
my
your arm
shoulders
in an
up.
uncomfortable situation.
Yeah,
basically.
and you got to remember, especially and then you got that weight, and now the other thing is, it's static.
Yeah.
So that's constant tension on one position, as opposed to, say, you're bench pressing, you're going through a range of motion, right? But you're here, and now you're just pushing. So that's torquing, and it's not basically you're forcing it to hold that position for a long time. That's a lot of strain.
Yeah.
It's little things, little things that you don't notice, or hard to figure it out. But that's why we were talking that time. We were saying about like a static exercise, like was the plank.
Yeah.
I don't like it because your shoulders and neck, you're in a fixed position, so it's good for your abs. But I find that my shoulders get tired before my abs do, right?
Yeah.
So again, I'm not a fan of it.
So you stay away from that?
I stay away from it because it again, by the time my abs get tired, my shoulders are already gone.
Yeah, your shoulders get like
I'm tired,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Makes sense.
I said, not that it's not a good exercise, but it doesn't work that good for me.
Yeah, like some people they can't do like every workout. Like I see people on like social media now, they're talking about, oh, I love this, I love this, I love this. And then I go, oh, I also got a good workout. And then I do it. I'm like, wait, this isn't even that good. Like this doesn't hit anything. This hits better, right? So you got to do what you like. Cause that's typically what it is for the gym. I find a lot of people ask me like, well, my workout plan is this, that, and then like I give it to them, and they go, oh, this kind of sucks. And I'm like, well, for me, I love it. It's working for me. But like we like different tastes. So you're gonna like this movement over this movement, right? Yep. So you have to pick what you like.
And that's the other thing. If you're doing an exercise and you're continually making progress, then it's a good exercise. If you're doing an exercise and you don't see progress, then even if you like it, you got to judge it now. It's like, okay, you might want to do it just for fun, but if you're not making progress on the exercise, then it's not working, plain and simple.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So you should always see constant progress on it. Either you can, either you're pushing more reps or you're, eventually pushing more weight.
Yeah.
Right? Number of sets is, you can continue with number of sets, but that really doesn't define progress. Adding sets, you said 250 on your bench for 3. Well, if you can do 250 for 4, you've progressed, right? Doing another set like that isn't, of 3 really doesn't define progress. So you want to be able to either move your reps up or the weight up, and then that's working for you.
You always want to try to also like progressive overload as well. Like I find that's been a big thing. Like for me, like every time I like work out, I always try to go a little bit higher. Even if I'll do like, let's say like bench, right? Like I hit like 200-pound bench and I'm hitting it for like 12.
Right.
Okay. Like I have to go up. I can't stay at like hitting this for 12. And then I do maybe like 215 for like 8. Right.
Yeah.
Now that's my new like way to get up, and then so on. So I found for me that's probably like the most successful way to train, just by doing the progressive overload. Because if you're hitting the same weight every time, I feel like you're just going to be building stamina on your muscle to do that weight.
Actually, there's a lot of studies that show that you eventually your strength decreases. Because what happens is when your body doesn't get the stimulus anymore, then it's saying it starts to regress a bit. It's like practicing 2 + 2 over and over again. At a certain point, you almost forget because it's so impractical. Like your brain just starts to you start getting dumber, right? Right. So, anyways, it's I think it's called the principle of accommodation. If basically if you keep doing the same thing, there's actually a bit of regression because there's just no stimulus for the body anymore.
Gotcha. So I have another question. For the shoulders, right? I see a lot of people talking about chest and back. Those should be heavy movements. And some people, for shoulders, they say you should go heavy or you should go light. If you were to build your shoulder, what would you say would be the better way to build a shoulder? To go heavy on shoulders or to go lighter and get like that rep range, that burn, that contraction?
I find that stuff like shoulders, bis, tris, I find moderate to lighter weight works good. They're small muscles relative to other things. I don't think they're meant to carry heavy loads. And the shoulders, even though a shoulder movement can be strong, because it's such a flexible joint, going super heavy, it's a little riskier.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I find going like moderate. So when I say moderate, I'm saying 10 to 20 rep range.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. if you're doing like heavy, 5, 6, and 7, you can do that once in a while, but on a continual basis, I've noticed on my body on a continual basis, it becomes hard on the shoulder joint. Whereas if you hit with the volume, you can still get strong, but you're not taxing the tendons and the joint capsule as much, right?
Yeah.
So you can still get the strength through volume.
Gotcha. Yeah, because for me, how I train is I don't really, I'm not like a power lifter. Like I don't like, I want like a good like bench. Don't get me wrong, but other than that, like I don't really care for like the big numbers, right? But I don't think I'm gonna do that anytime soon, regardless. But so basically, should I just keep doing like lower weights for my workouts? So like, 'cause I want more like an aesthetic look, like a more like built look. So like keep it lighter with a higher rep range, or like keep it like moderate heavy, but like keep like a heavy like 8 to 10. Like what do you think I should do?
So I've actually been researching a lot more of this stuff right now. They've come up with a lot. So since I graduated, they've come up with tons and tons and tons of studies, right? And to the point where we actually know how to work out now. Like before it was more of a guess, but now they've been doing so many studies. So they find that even if you hit a rep range of anywhere from like 6 to even up to 30, but let's call it 6 to 20. As long as you're getting enough intensity in there where your last 2 or 3 reps are like those you can't do anymore. Apparently, in terms of growth, it has the same effect. So whether you're doing 6 to 10 reps or 10 to 20 reps, you'll as long as you're getting your body to that fatigue at the end where you're to failure, just before failure, just about done, you'll end up with the same result. So apparently a lot of bodybuilders are choosing to go that light and moderate because it's less taxing on the joints, right? Whereas if you're training for strength, okay, so Olympic lifts, powerlifting, you're looking for a 1 rep max. So now you're training in that 1 to 5 rep range, because you're not only when you're doing those kind of lifts, you're not just training the muscle group. You're training for that lift. So the neurological component, like the technical component, is much more important, right? So you're doing the 1 or 2 reps because that's all you're doing in a competition is the 1 rep. So there's a very big, how I say, neurological component where the execution of the lift is as important as the how can I say, more important than building bigger muscle, right? Even you see those strongman competitions where some guys might be smaller in size, and you say, well, but their execution of the exercise is much better. So that's super important. So if you're just looking for muscle size, and obviously if you're building size, you're still going to build strength, but you won't build strength like somebody who's training for strength.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
So sticking with those rep ranges is fine. Like I said, and if you find that it starts to become like too taxing on let's say on your shoulders, your biceps, saying heavy 6 to 10 is just I find a lot of strain on the 10 stuff. You can lighten it up, and you'll still gain muscle mass without putting stress on the joints. So it is, and I find with the smaller muscles, for me, I've been finding it's a much better alternative, because especially with the powerlifting, doesn't matter how much I curl, right? I need to execute a squat, a bench, and a deadlift properly, right? So putting heavy loads on my biceps and triceps.
There's no need for it. Really.
Yeah, no need for it.
You want to build strength on those things because all the muscles.
Obviously, exactly.
The and I'm still muscles help.
Exactly, and I'm still building strength in it, but I'm just not putting my joints through the pressure.
Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah, that makes sense. Like the smaller movements, you don't need to. Like I've seen so many videos of people on TikTok. I actually saw one the other day. This guy was doing a preacher curl, and he had 135 pounds preacher curl.
Yeah.
And what do you think happened? tore his
Tore his
biceps, both of
biceps.
them, because he's trying to make it like a funny video. Like it's stupid. Like especially for a preacher curl where it's such a like your biceps are such like in one place. There's nothing else that can get it up except for your biceps. Like it's such a stupid thing
Your
to
biceps, that's the other thing with the preacher curl, like the way it's designed, your biceps. But then you got to remember your shoulder joint is elevated like this.
Yeah.
It's not in a strong position.
No.
Right. So you're in a very weak, you're or leverage disadvantage, and even your front delt, like it's forward. It's not in a locked position.
Yeah.
So you could put a lot of strain on your front delt too, or not even so much the front delt, but also even the insertion points over here, right? So
Yeah.
so doing this is not a great position. So I wouldn't do preach. It's a good movement, but I wouldn't do that heavy at all.
No, you can't.
Right, like you just said it, you're isolating the biceps so much, and your fulcrum is down here. Like you're nuts to try and put that much pressure on it.
Yeah, and right away he put it down. No, he picked it up. He went up and then gone. Pop. So you gotta be smart when you're working out because there's a lot of ego lifters, and that's what TikTok is now. It's just showing a bunch of ego lifters and then seeing people break a leg, tear every muscle.
Yeah. I've seen that happen. It's not pretty.
Yeah.
In '95, went down to Chicago to watch a powerlifting competition. So two things happened that day. One guy tore his quad, right? So he went down. He had 770 on the bar. 770 on the bar, and what he had suffered a quad tear like months earlier, right? So this was just bad luck. So anyways, he unracked it, backed up, got into position. He went maybe a quarter of the way down, and you heard a rip. Everybody, it sounded like you tear a suit.
Yeah.
It was his quad. Yeah, it was bad. He went down. The spotters caught the bar. It was bad. Anyways, the next day, the heavier guys came in, and there's one guy, Nick Lavatola. So he was deadlifting. I think it was something like 830, but he kept hitching his arms. So hitching, what I mean is, so when you're deadlifting, you want to keep your arms, straight. He would keep hitching his arm. So now you can imagine. So it's 830 pounds. When you do this, then you're putting the pressure on the bicep. So he went up, pop, just went right up. He didn't even notice because apparently when you tear it, just you don't feel it. It just goes numb.
Yeah.
And everybody's going, your bicep. He didn't even know. So he put it down, and yeah, he had torn his bicep because again he put so much weight on it by hitching it.
Yeah, I saw a video of a guy doing that, and I literally ever since I saw that, I never deadlifted like that again. I always just do like this way because I'm like, I don't want to.
If you can't, well, that's a great way. You have to have thumbs of steel to do a double overhand. It's easier on your shoulder because you're not torquing, but you gotta have a grip of like Superman to do that, right? So
honestly, I don't even use my thumbs. I go thumbless.
Wow.
I don't know why it's more. I mean,
sure, you're not putting pressure on your thumb.
Yeah, I mean, my deadlift isn't yours where it's in the 500s. Mine is only 275 for reps, but
But still, even I could not do 275 for reps holding on like that.
I'm sure you can.
For reps, no, probably. Like I said, I'm just not used to that grip. It doesn't work for me, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they're more comfortable for you then, I guess.
Well, yeah, because alternate grip it prevents it from rolling, right?
Yeah,
but I've seen guys double overhand like well into 600 pounds. I said I don't know how the hell they do it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know if I'll ever get to that weight, to be honest.
Like I said, I do it because I want to get to that weight, but that's not your goal. It's not your, that's not your goal, right?
Yeah, I used to really focus on deadlifts on my back days actually, because on my leg days I usually do RDLs. I like to change it up here and there, but on my back days I always did the deadlifts, and I found it was like a great warm up for the back because it hits your whole back.
Yeah.
But then I noticed when I got to my my higher numbers, like last time I hit 275 for reps, I was hitting it for 12 3 times. I didn't want to it's my warm up, right? So I don't want to go too crazy, but I obviously work up to it. I just noticed like the next 3 days, my back was so like stiff and in pain. I was like, "Holy, what is going on?" I took a break from it, to be honest. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Oh my God, like I'm gonna be stiff and like I think I had a board in my back and I couldn't move. I don't know what was going on, but like, why do you think that happened though? Because like it's not like I didn't jump the gun or anything, and like it's like a PR. Like I just like I gradually went up like week by week to that. So why do you think my back went so stiff for like 3 days after?
Well, it's because you made those muscles work really, really hard. That's it. But not they were stiff. It wasn't that you felt like a pinch or a hurt. It was just very stiff, right?
Yeah, like it wasn't like
Uncomfortably stiff.
yeah, like it wasn't like I was sore, but I was like, it's like if I did one more set, I would be in pain right now. That's what it felt like.
Yeah,
Like
it's
bad
it's again
pain.
because the lower back has a lot of smaller muscles too, right? And basically just you work them really hard. That's all it is. You work them really hard, and then they just like seized, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
what I do with the deadlift now, because I would notice, I would do my deadlifts, and then after a few weeks, once it's building up, heavy, and then it would be sore for a while, and so after so long, I noticed I started catching on. It's when I started doing a lot of reps. So now what I do is with deadlifts, I just do singles. I do a lot of set, but I do singles. That way, every time I do the lift, I'm in proper position.
Yeah.
You find with the deadlift, you do your first one, you're locking, you're in position. But then when you come down, just naturally, especially you got weight on there, you round, right? And you're never in that proper position again when you're doing reps.
Yeah.
So I started just doing singles, and I haven't had a back issue since, and my deadlifts keep going up,
Really?
right? And I haven't had to stop because I always get to a certain point, and back hurts. Okay, lay off, start over again. So I just started doing singles, multiple sets. Shorter rest in between, so just to try and mimic, doing, reps, one after the other,
Yeah, yeah.
and I found it much more effective, much more effective.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cause like how long?
Because
in
it's one of the, you gotta
between-
remember, it's one of the only lifts or one of the few lifts where you're starting dead. You know what I mean? With bench press, you got the momentum going down, going up, squats, everything.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
starting deadlift is exactly that. Deadlift, you're starting flat dead on the floor, right? And then even the movement itself, like you say, when you're coming back down, you tend to round off, and you're just never in the same position again.
So how long in between do you break in between your singles then?
So if it's heavy singles, I rest a minute, right?
Okay.
If I'm doing speed, then I'll rest like 20 seconds in between, right? Put it down, basically catch my breath,
Yeah.
fire again. So that's if I'm trying to develop, speed in the lift, right? So explosiveness, right? It's hard to develop explosiveness with heavy weight. It's gonna move slow. So you do it with lighter weight. And so very short rest in between, but it allows me to get back into the position that I want before I lift.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because with deadlifts, it's like you're in a constant hold of like that heavy weight. So going up and down, as you go up and you go back down, it changes where you are. So that could lead to
It's a lot of
like
shifting, like
pain
I said,
stuff.
and again, it's not to say you shouldn't do reps with deadlifts. If lighter weight, yeah, not a problem. I just found that since I just started hammering off singles, I haven't had any issues.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Like that does make a lot of sense to get like a nice like deadlift because then you can always when you do the singles you always put yourself back into a strong position,
Yep.
get yourself ready, and then you're up and it's like essentially you're doing a perfect rep every single time.
Yeah,
when you do it.
exactly.
Instead of doing like you're going for it, and then when you get tired, you're doing a sloppy rep, and then
Yeah.
that sloppy rep can lead to like even more.
That's
like,
that,
damages.
that's what I found. That's what I found. It's when I started, trying to get into reps, and that would irritate my back. But anyways, that system has been working for me.
Yeah, nice. So what do you do for supplements? Like what do you take on a day to day?
Basically, as basic as you could think it, creatine and whey powder. Nothing else. No pre-workout, no post-workout. I don't know how much more you get from that stuff. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think the big thing is everybody sort of jumps the gun to that stuff just like with diets to lose weight. Everybody just jumps the gun on the supplements. You got to remember, supplements are exactly that. They're supplements. It's addition to you eating properly, right? Again, I don't know if you get much more, with the pre, the post. I take the whey powder and the creatines because, you saw in the videos, my workouts are intense. I'm burning, right? So I want to make sure that I'm replenishing this stuff. The pre, the post, the heavy caffeine stuff. I just don't see it being effective. You're ultimately, if you don't got a good program, doesn't matter what you put in your body, nothing's happening, right? So the primary thing is having a good program, right? Before you even get into what supplements what supplements work, what supplements don't. If you don't got a good program, that doesn't matter, right? So those things are to help you a little along. Now, if you're a beginner in the starting stages, even the supplements not going to do much for you. Like I said, you're gonna get way more out of your workout than you are of any supplements. Now, when you start getting into more elite athletes, I think the supplements are better off for them because they're working at a hell of a rate, right? They got to make sure they're replenishing their nutrients because they're working at a way higher level. You take somebody who's training for like an Olympic swimmer or something. They're training like twice a day, 5, 6, 7 times a week. Like they're burning protein, so they got to replace that. Power lifters, weightlifters, they're burning protein big. They got to replace it. Your first year in the gym, you need protein, but you're gonna gain regardless because you're just starting off, right? So I don't, especially when the younger kids ask me about that stuff, I try and steer them off of it altogether because that's not going to make the difference. It's going to be your program. But now, if you've been doing it for a while, you're hitting heavy weights and stuff, sure, you do the supplements, sure, it's going to help. It's going to help replenish, the protein. It's going to help replenish the vitamins that you need. You're not going to get bigger and stronger because of them. I know they claim that. You're not, it's the weights that you do, it's the program that you execute that's going to do that. Those supplements are there to make sure that the nutrition's there so that you can move forward. They're not performance enhancers. So that's one thing I make clear to everybody. They're supplements. It's not performance enhancers. So yeah, I think they're good. I think they're misused most of the time, but they can be really good. What are you taking?
So I take pre-workout. I take creatine, and then I have like my whey protein powder.
What is the pre? Because I've never taken it. What's a pre-workout?
So basically, there's all types of different pre-workouts. Some have creatine, some have all these different, I don't know, a lot of like these chemicals and stuff. Not chemicals, but like supplements in it.
What's a pre-workout supposed to do for you then?
So basically, it's supposed to help with blood flow. It's supposed to help get you energized, and it just really helps like getting you with a pump. Some pre-workouts help with focus. Like for me, like I have like ADHD, so sometimes if I'm in the gym and I see someone doing something, or like I'm like, what the hell are they doing? I get distracted and stuff. For me, I find that it keeps me focused. Or even the days when like, let's say I want to work out after work or like early in the morning, and I'm tired. I'm like, I need some like energy because I want to get a good workout in. I take the pre-workout and it just gets me like going, like I'm locked in, like I'm ready to go.
So what is it known for high levels of caffeine then, or what's a typical?
So there's different types of pre-workout. Like there's some that have no caffeine in it. Like I took that. I want to see what it was like. But basically, the ones that don't have caffeine, it's all for just the blood flow and to get you like a better pump. Like you see some people, they'll have like salt or honey like before a workout to like get like the better pump, or like Rice Krispies to get
okay.
It's just like
almost like carbing up before.
Yeah, it's just like carbing up basically. Like it just really helps you like get your muscles like bloated almost, and like really like looking like your best self. That's like the non-caffeine. It has more of that. With the caffeine, you have to be careful with it because there's a lot of people that overdo like the pre-workout and it's too much caffeine because they range. Like I've heard of some pre-workouts that are 400 milligrams of caffeine, and if you think of caffeine, your typical coffee that you have, it probably has like 30 to like 100 milligrams. So 400, you're having four coffees back
times more.
yeah, like you're having like four or five coffees like back to back. So you got to be careful. If you have a heart condition, it says on every label, do not take pre-workout because it gets your blood like your heart like beating and going fast. So I'd say stay away with it if you have a heart condition. But I tend to stick to a less, they call it like a lesser stim pre-workout.
Right.
So mine, I actually use Chris Bumstead's pre-workout.
Okay.
I use his because a lot of other pre-workouts, they have a lot of stuff in it that you just shouldn't put in your body. A lot of stuff that's like cancerous. Like my buddy uses one. Using it for a while, he looked into it, and he said that mine has a lot of stuff that can be really damaging to my body, and later in life, I keep taking it's not gonna be good. With the Chris Bumstead pre that I use, everything's all natural, and it's like health. It's not the healthiest thing for you because there's again a lot of caffeine, but they have more healthy like things in it, so it's not as bad. But that one's only 200 milligrams of caffeine. Now for that one as well, there's a 1 scoop option and a 2 scoop option. So the 1 scoop is 130 and the 2 scoops 260. So that's why I take that. I stay at that. I find that it's like having 2 or 3 coffees. It's not like too much. I don't feel like I'm like
revved up
and like freaking out. Like I just feel like I'm good. Like I got the energy.
Because I've seen people in that state where they're shaking and to the point where literally shaking and they're so wired that they can't work out.
Yeah. So something to watch out for is a lot of people don't know this, but if you have too much caffeine, instead of giving you energy, it does the opposite. It'll shut you down. So like with the pre-workout, you have to eat something beforehand. Because one time I went to go work out, I didn't eat any breakfast. I just like, oh my God, like I work coming up, I gotta go to the gym right now. Went to the gym, took my pre, and it did the opposite. I was tired, I felt nauseous, I felt sick, and it was because I had nothing in my system, and it was like too much caffeine, nothing to break down the caffeine. So you just feel like
burn you up fast.
You can't even work out. You have no motivation to work out. You're just sitting there and you're just like, I want to go home, and I feel like I'm gonna throw up. Like it's not a good feeling. But then some people, they just take too much and you get the same feeling, but it's even worse because then your heart's beating out of your chest, and then that's when you get a risk of like heart attack, and you could potentially like die from that.
See, that's the reason why I don't like that stuff. Just because it gets misused.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's potentially could potentially help you. But for the fact that it gets so misused, that's why I don't like it. Was it's hard to misuse whey powder.
Of course, yeah.
Right. Even creatine can be abused, but I mean, with creatine, from what I can tell, you really have to like take scoops and scoops. Where I don't know anybody who does, because it's known that it's more than 5 5 grams a day.
10 milligrams.
It's pointless anyways, and I think for whatever reason people sort of caught on to that and they don't. Whereas with the pre-workout, the post-workout, that stuff, it just again I think just it gets abused, and that's why I don't like it, because it's mishandled.
Yeah, like if you're for me, like I've never gone more than the amount it's like told me. Like I had another pre-workout that was like 300 milligrams and of caffeine, and I was like, some days I felt good, some days I felt.
How about just a good espresso?
Yeah, I mean that works too. But the thing
that's what I do. I have a nice espresso before I go. I'm good to go.
Yeah, a lot of people do that as well. But for me, sometimes like if I'm really tired, then that's like it's not enough for some people, right? And it's also a big thing of the pre-workout is also having like the pump, because it has like BCAAs and like all the stuff like that, and that just gets like the blood flowing, and then that's when like you're doing your workout, like you just like the pump just so much better. You look so much bigger than like without having it. So it's like basically think of it as having a lot of carbs before the workout or not having carbs before the workout. Obviously, when you have the carbs, you're more bloated and you look bigger,
Yeah.
right? So it's all mainly for that, but it's like 50-50. So if you want the pump, you take it, and if you want like the energy and you need the energy, you just like take it responsibly, smartly, and then you're all good for the pre.
So that's how, one thing leads into the other. So if you're taking it all the time because you're saying, I'm constantly tired and I need to get myself revved up, your problem is not the pre-workout drink. Then your problem is that you're not getting enough rest.
That is also true.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're constantly fatigued, getting that stuff to pump you up, you're heading for more damage because your body's telling you you're tired. You need to rest. So, and that's a big thing that's been overlooked. And again, they're just doing so much more. Labs and stuff on exercise science. Right? There's so many studies that are being done on exercise science. And sleep is the big thing, and that's one of the things that I say the majority of people underestimate, underappreciate is a proper sleep. People say, "Oh, I get by on 5 hours a day," and it's in their work. You're getting by. You're not at the top of your game with 5 hours a day.
100%,
You're only getting by. Why would you just want to get by?
Yeah, you want to always be
Right?
at your best
So
for everything.
yeah, so you want to rest properly. That's why I said it's one thing. Sometimes a little tired. Have a couple of shots of espresso before I go, and good to go.
Yeah.
But I've told myself if I have to do that all the time, then the problem is not the caffeine before I go. There's something else. That means I'm too fatigued. So I'm either not sleeping enough or training, overtraining. But again, the majority is the most of it is you're not resting enough, resting properly.
Yeah. Well,
right?
that's half the thing of working out. A lot of people don't realize that is that you gain your muscle, you gain your strength, your size from the rest.
On the recovery.
Obviously,
yes.
you have to do the work and work out. You can't just sleep all day and you're going to be able to bench
Yeah.
500 pounds. But how you get the physique you want or the strength you want, it's based on how you recover and what you do for the next workout.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't do that. So some people, they work out and then they don't have their protein after, or they stay up all night like doing something, and then you almost just ruined the workout because you didn't do the necessary things like you need to do. So you just lost that day basically.
Yep.
Right?
I mean, you can get away with one night bad sleep. Second one, you're already in trouble. By the time you hit 3 nights bad sleep, you're gone. Like it's bad. So, anyways, like I said, that's seems not to get off topic, but it's not off topic. That's why the whole pre-workout and getting stimulated and stuff. If you're having to rely on that stuff, then you got to look at your sleep patterns because you shouldn't have to get that wired up or say I'm tired, I need to take it again every workout, right? I always tell people if the thrill of going in and hitting the weights is not enough for you, then when it's my squat day or especially my squat day, I don't need anything to get me wired because you got 400 pounds across your back. If that if that's not enough to get you excited, man, then you can have as much caffeine as you want. So the workout itself should be what's going to get you going. Then you have a hard day, you need an extra kick, but going in and knowing you're gonna hit the weights hard, that should be the majority of the drive that you need going in.
Yeah, like just going in and getting the job done should be like motivating in itself.
Yes.
Like
I'm gonna hit extra. Every workout I go in, I know I'm either gonna jump reps or jump weight. So when I go in already, I'm geared towards that. I gotta push myself harder.
Yeah, like for me, like before I started like really like focusing on training, because I always played soccer and sports. I never cared for the gym, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I had my workout days. I do whatever I needed to do, and then I was like, thank God, like I'm done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? and then it's like you can't just go into the gym being like, oh, I want to work out. Yeah, you can do that. It's gonna work for like a week, but then after a week, you're gonna be like, like I don't really want to go. I had a long day at work. Like no, like you have to have an image in your mind of what you want to do, what you want to look like, and have some type of motivation. And just based off that, that's going to drive you to become your best self and be your best, look however you want to look, or lift whatever you want to lift. You can't just, I'm going to go to the gym. No, you need to have a goal, mindset. And once your mindset is there, you're in the gym constantly. Like for me, I found my mindset. I found what my goals were going to be. And I started seeing the results coming, and then I was like, "Holy! Like I'm locked in, and I'm getting what I want done." And then once you get to that goal, you're gonna be, you want the next goal, and then it's the next. Like it's just such a good thing to like go to the gym. It changes your life, honestly.
No. It is. Well, I mean, I've been preaching this for decades and decades now. But even if you're an athlete in other sports, everybody should be doing strength training. Okay, and it doesn't mean, it doesn't mean everybody should become an Olympic weightlifter, but everybody should be weight training. Ping pong, everybody. Again, it doesn't mean you should your goal is going to be to bench 500. Not at all. But you should be your goal should be to be stronger today than you were yesterday.
Of course,
right? That goes for every athlete, and now we're starting to see professional sports teams just in the last little while who have clued into this, and now strength training is part of their program because it just makes a better athlete. Like there's no question about it. Doesn't matter what the sport is, it just makes a better athlete, right?
Yeah, you just gotta
again, but it's got to be worked in, within that sport. If you're you're on a team, let's go swimming. Swimming's infamous for that. A lot of training sessions. 7-8 swims a week, which I think is overdone, right? I'll argue to the death with any of those trainers. I think it's overdone. If you can swim that long, that many times, then you're not training hard. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
So it could be more efficient. But even at that, again, a couple, so if you have that many swims, you gotta obviously not going to hit the gym 4 times a week. 2 times a week, which would be a minimum amount for you to get any results. But 2 times a week, you should be strength training, and I guarantee you'll see a better athlete, right?
Yeah, like people, when they think of gym, they are going to the gym. They think that
bodybuilding or Olympic weightlifting.
Exactly. There's so many ways to train. Like you don't have to do what everybody else does. Honestly, you just go to the gym or go in your basement or go anywhere and just do 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all you need.
And that's all you need to get stronger.
Yeah.
30 minutes twice a week, and you'll see a difference.
People think that that they see these Olympians, right? They're like, oh, they're in the gym 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. They're nonstop. Realistically, those guys that are huge, they go to the gym 3-4 times a week. They're in there for 45 minutes to an hour, and they're done. Like Ronnie Coleman.
They have to, because you can't keep up that pace for hours and hours. That's why I say, a lot of those sports teams or athletes, when they're training, twice a day, 2 hours a day, twice a day, I'm sorry, you're not training hard. Because there's no way you can keep up that type of athleticism for that long, and you're training efficiently.
Yeah, no, like for me, like when I go train, it's 4 or 5 times a week, max hour and a half. Maybe if I go with a buddy or I see a buddy there and I talk, I'm there for 2 hours because we're just talking.
That's lag time in between.
Yeah, but from honest working out, it's 45 minutes to an hour, to be honest, and I get the job done, and that's it. I'm not there all day. I don't have time to go there all day. I got work, I got school, I got soccer. Like I don't have the time to be there for 8 hours a day.
But they said you can't be, if you're lifting with any kind of intensity, you can't, right? And if you are, then it's you're not lifting intense. You're wasting time.
Yeah, if you're there for more than 2 hours, I'd say it's not even a workout anymore. It's
2 hours
hangout.
is even it's long. My warm-ups are a little longer now just because I'm older now and it just takes me that long to. But my actual training time is pretty much an hour.
Yeah, that's all you need.
And it gives me enough sets, enough intensity, right? Um, you know, there's no way I can sustain 2 hours of intense workout.
Yeah, no, there's no
And like I
way.
said, I don't know of any weightlifters or bodybuilders that do. Like I said, you're half-assing it if you can sustain that kind of intensity for that long.
Yeah, like the only way you're staying in the gym for that long is if you're doing like 5 minute rest periods, and then you're
Yeah,
just wasting
exactly.
you
Yes, yeah,
wasted
yeah,
your workout
yeah.
basically. Like you, you gotta think of it as almost like a job, but it's not a job. Like you gotta go in there, you got your plan on your phone or your plan in your head, you just bang it out, and then after that you just go chill.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
do what
yeah.
you
Have to
want to
rest.
do.
Have to rest.
And you don't need longer than an hour and a half to an hour. Like you
No,
45
yeah, yeah.
minutes is more than plenty.
I would love to get it down to 45 minutes, an hour. That would be good. That kind of intensity. But like I said, with the warm up, just takes a little bit longer, and I want to get certain exercises in there. But again, 1 hour, you can get plenty of work done in 1 hour. Plenty, plenty, plenty.
Yeah, like if look at Ronnie Coleman, he said in a podcast a couple weeks ago, someone asked him, "How long did you train?" He's like 45 minutes, and he was an 8-time Mr. Olympia, one of the biggest people of all time,
Yeah.
one of the most biggest faces to the workout industry.
Yeah.
45 minutes, and look how big he was. Yes, he was on steroids, of course.
So was this competition.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you don't even need to be on steroids, to be honest. Unless you want to compete and be on stage and everything, okay, like, that's you. But if you just want simple goals, you want a six-pack or you want a nice chest, nice back,
No,
just go and
you can achieve a very high level of musculature.
exactly.
Again, given a good program, and then there's genetics behind it too, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, even if you have bad genetics, though, like you can still build something.
You can
Like
anything,
100%.
even with bad genetics, you can build something.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, just genetically, some guys will just end up being bigger than others, right?
Yeah.
But even you said, even with bad genetics, you can build muscle. Absolutely.
Of course. You gotta put in the work. You gotta think that if you're at home and you're doing nothing all day, you go to work or you hang out with your friends, but you're not doing nothing. You're not doing anything for your life. Try going to the gym, do your 30 minutes, and you're better than the person that does nothing all day by just going in there for 30 minutes. And then once you start with the 30 minutes, you're gonna see the results, and that's when you get addicted, and that's when you're going like all the time, longer, hitting the gym more intense. You just
you out of the
gotta
house.
you gotta find your motivation. You just gotta figure it out basically.